In the village of Kalipura, nestled deep in the heart of Rajasthan, stood an ancient banyan tree that cast a shadow far larger than its sprawling roots. The villagers called it Bada Bargad, the Great Banyan, and whispered that it was older than the village itself. Its gnarled branches twisted like skeletal fingers, and its aerial roots hung like nooses in the moonlight. Elders warned that the tree was a doorway to the spirit world, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin. No one ventured near it after dusk, and no one dared to cut its branches, for it was said to be cursed. The story begins with Arjun, a skeptical young man who had returned to Kalipura after years in Mumbai. He scoffed at the village superstitions, dismissing tales of the Banyan as nonsense spun by illiterate minds. Arjun had come back to sell his late grandfather's ancestral Haveli, a crumbling mansion that stood at the edge of the village, uncomfortably close to the Bada Bargad. The Haveli was shunned by locals, who claimed it was haunted ever since Arjun's grandfather, a respected pandit, vanished under mysterious circumstances decades ago. One evening, as Arjun sorted through dusty heirlooms in the Haveli's attic, he found a tattered journal belonging to his grandfather. The pages were filled with cryptic Sanskrit verses and warnings about a ritual gone wrong. The last entry read, "The Banyan demands a price. It binds the soul that dares disturb it." I was a fool. Intrigued but dismissive, Arjun tossed the journal aside. That night, as a storm brewed outside, he heard faint whispers carried on the wind, like voices chanting his name. The next day, Arjun decided to inspect the banyan tree, determined to debunk the village's fears. Armed with a flashlight, he approached the tree at twilight. Its roots seemed to pulse in the fading light, and the air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and something acrid, like burnt offerings. As he circled the trunk, he noticed strange carvings, symbols etched deep into the bark, glowing faintly under his flashlight's beam. They matched the sketches in his grandfather's journal. Suddenly, a cold wind whipped through the branches and Arjun's flashlight flickered out. In the darkness, he heard a low, guttural moan, not from the wind but from the tree itself. His heart raced as he stumbled back, only to feel something coil around his ankle. A root, or perhaps something alive. He yanked free and ran back to the Haveli, locking the door behind him. That night, his dreams were plagued by visions of a faceless woman in a tattered sari, her voice echoing, "You cannot leave. The Banyan knows your blood." The next morning, Arjun found the Haveli's walls scratched with the same symbols from the tree. Desperate, he sought out the village's elderly tantric, Baba Shamlal, who lived in a hut at the outskirts. The old man's eyes widened when Arjun described the carvings in his dreams. "The Bada Bargad is no ordinary tree," Baba said, his voice trembling. "It is a Churail's lair. Your grandfather tried to bind her spirit to protect the village, but he failed. The Churail cursed his bloodline, and now she senses you." Baba explained that the Churail, a vengeful female spirit, had been wronged centuries ago and bound to the Banyan by a ritual that demanded a sacrifice. Arjun's grandfather had attempted to renew the ritual, but underestimated its power, trapping his own soul in the process. Now, the Churail sought Arjun to complete the curse. "You must perform the ritual tonight," Baba urged, handing Arjun a pouch of sacred ash and a copper amulet inscribed with mantras. "Under the banyan, offer the ash to the fire and chant the verses from your grandfather's journal. But beware, if your heart wavers, the Churail will claim you." That night, under a moonless sky, Arjun returned to the Bada Bargad, trembling but resolute. He lit a small fire at the tree's base, sprinkled the ash, and began chanting the Sanskrit verses. The air grew thick, and the tree's roots seemed to writhe like serpents. The Churail appeared, a skeletal figure with hollow eyes and hair that flowed like black smoke. Her laughter was a screech that pierced Arjun's skull. "Your blood owes me," she hissed, her clawed hand reaching for him. Arjun's voice faltered, but he clutched the amulet and pressed on, reciting the final verse. The fire flared, and the Churail screamed as a blinding light engulfed the tree. When the light faded, the banyan stood silent, its roots still. Arjun collapsed, exhausted but alive. The next morning, the villagers found the Bada Bargad withered, its branches brittle and lifeless. Arjun left Kalipura, never speaking of that night. But the Haveli remained unsold, and travelers passing through the village swore they heard whispers in the wind, falling from the stump where the banyan once stood.